When my marriage ended, I thought I had lost everything: my home, my sense of safety, and the person who was supposed to be my forever. What I didn't realize then was that the real loss was still coming. It wasn't about my ex-husband. It was about the woman I thought was my best friend. Her name was Cara Delmont, and for almost 5 years, she was my lifeline. We met at a neighborhood book club, back when life was quieter and my biggest problem was picking between red or white wine for dinner. Cara was one of those effortlessly charming people, funny, warm, always ready with a knowing smile. She had this way of making everyone feel seen, like she could read the pain beneath your words and understand it without judgment. When my marriage started crumbling, she was there, front row, arms open. When my ex, Nathan, finally walked out after 8 years together, Cara became my shadow. She brought me soup when I couldn't eat, forced me to shower when I didn't want to move, and sat with me through long nights when sleep wouldn't come. She was the one who said, "You're going to be okay, Mara. You're stronger than you think." And I believed her. For months, she was my confessional. I told her everything about the fights Nathan and I had, the affairs I suspected, the insecurities that gnawed at me at 3 a.m. I even told her things I'd never said out loud before, about my fear of being alone, my guilt over not having kids, the way I sometimes wondered if I'd failed as a wife. She listened, nodding, sometimes crying with me. I thought she was the one person who truly understood. Until I started noticing strange things. It began subtly, little comments from acquaintances that made my stomach twist. One woman from our gym asked, "Are you doing okay with the panic attacks?" I froze. I'd never told anyone about those except Cara. Another time, someone from the book club mentioned, "I heard Nathan had gambling issues. That must have been awful." That rumor was completely false, something I joked about once in private with Cara after watching a TV show. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe Cara had just mentioned something harmlessly and it got twisted along the way. But then, at a mutual friend's birthday dinner, I overheard someone whisper, "She told Cara she still checks her ex's social media every night." My chest went cold. That was word for word something I'd said. I laughed it off that night, pretending not to care. But when I got home, I sat on my couch in the dark, staring at the wall, and felt something shift inside me. The betrayal wasn't just about gossip. It was about trust, about how I'd handed her the most fragile parts of me, and she'd turned them into social currency. Still, I didn't confront her, not yet. Because if Cara loved attention more than loyalty, then maybe the best way to expose her wasn't to argue. It was to let her expose herself. So I created a story, a lie so specific, so outrageous, that it could only come from me and from her. One evening I called her, pretending to sound distraught. "Cara, I need to tell you something, but you can't tell anyone, please." "Of course you can trust me," she said instantly. Her voice softened, almost eager. "What's wrong?" I took a shaky breath, forcing my voice to tremble. "I think I might be pregnant." She gasped. "Pregnant? With Nathan?" I hesitated just long enough to sound conflicted. "No, with someone I've been seeing. It's not serious. I don't even know if I'm keeping it. Please, you can't tell anyone. I just needed to tell someone." She swore up and down that she'd never breathe a word. She even told me she'd pray for clarity on my behalf. I thanked her, hung up, and waited. 1 week. That's all it took. By the following Friday, my phone buzzed with a message from a mutual friend, Lydia. "Mara, are you okay? I heard you're pregnant." My heart sank, and then hardened. I asked casually, "Where'd you hear that?" She replied, "Cara mentioned it. She said she was worried about you." There it was, proof. That night, I didn't sleep. I scrolled through old messages between Cara and me, reading my confessions, the raw, trembling words I'd sent her in the middle of the night, things she'd comforted me over, things she'd repeated. She wasn't my confidant. She was my collector, storing my pain like ammunition. But I wasn't the same broken woman she first befriended. The difference between me then and me now was that I'd learned how to rebuild, quietly, strategically, and with purpose. I decided to end it on my terms. Our friend group had a monthly dinner, a long-standing ritual where everyone brought a dish, shared updates, and pretended life was one big, cozy sitcom. I offered to host the next one. When Kara texted me, "Can I bring anything?" I replied, "Just yourself. I've missed you." And I meant it. The night of the dinner, the house was glowing with candles and soft music. 10 of us gathered around my table, laughter bouncing off the walls. Kara arrived fashionably late, wearing a floral dress and that same disarming smile she always used when she wanted everyone to love her. She hugged me tightly. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "You're finally glowing again." I smiled back. Maybe it's because I've finally found peace. Dinner went smoothly, almost too smoothly. Between bites of roasted chicken and sips of wine, people swapped stories about work, vacations, dating. Then, halfway through dessert, I cleared my throat. "There's something I want to talk about," I said, setting my glass down. The room quieted. "It's kind of personal." Kara's eyes widened, part curiosity, part performance. "Of course, honey, you can share anything." I nodded, feigning nervousness. "I found out that some very private things I told someone in confidence have been getting repeated. Personal things, embarrassing things." A murmur rippled through the group. Kara placed a hand over her heart. "Oh no, that's awful. Who would do that?" I looked directly at her. That's what I wanted to find out. The silence that followed was suffocating. Everyone's eyes darted between us. I reached for my phone and opened a message thread. "You all probably heard something recently, that I'm pregnant." A few people nodded awkwardly. "Well," I said, turning the screen around so everyone could see the text timed, "that story was fake. I made it up and told it to one person. Only one." Kara's face drained of color. Her fork clattered against her plate. "Mara, I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I think you do," I said quietly, "because that one person was you." The room went dead silent. Even the air seemed to stop moving. I scrolled up, showing the messages where she'd promised I'd never tell a soul. Then I opened the group chat I'd been added to by Lydia, where she'd written, "Poor Mara, I just hope she makes the right decision." All eyes turned to Kara. She stammered, "I didn't mean, I thought maybe people should know so they could support you." "Support me?" I repeated, my voice steady. "By turning my personal life into dinner gossip?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Mara, please, you've been through so much. I was trying to help." "No," I said, my tone soft but razor sharp. "You were trying to be interesting." The room stayed silent. No one defended her. Even the friends she thought she owned with her charm avoided her gaze. Finally, I said, "I don't care about rumors. I care about respect. And now everyone knows what kind of friend you really are." Kara stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "You're cruel," she hissed, her face blotchy with shame. "After everything I did for you." I met her eyes. "You did plenty for me, Kara. You taught me who not to trust." She grabbed her purse and stormed out. The sound of the door closing echoed through the house like a final chapter slamming shut. No one spoke for a long time. Then Lydia exhaled, shaking her head. "Wow, I had no idea." I just smiled faintly. That's the thing about masks. They fit until someone stops pretending. After everyone left, I sat alone at the table, the candlelight flickering across half-empty plates. I felt strangely calm, not triumphant, not vengeful, just done. There's a unique kind of peace that comes from reclaiming your voice after someone tries to use it against you. In the weeks that followed, Kara disappeared from our circle. She left the book club, stopped showing up at social events, deleted her social media. Occasionally, I'd hear that she'd reached out to someone to explain her side, but no one wanted to listen. People don't trust storytellers who weaponize secrets. For me, life grew quiet again. But this time, it was a silence I chose. I started therapy, not to fix what was broken, but to strengthen what remained. I learned how to protect my boundaries, how to keep my private world truly private. I made new friends, slowly, cautiously, but with honesty this time. A few months later, I ran into Kara at the grocery store. She looked different, tired, smaller somehow. When she saw me, she froze by the produce aisle, clutching a basket of oranges. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. "Mara," she said finally, her voice fragile, "I've been meaning to reach out. I wanted to apologize." I looked at her, really looked, and realized she wasn't evil. She was just empty, the kind of person who filled her loneliness with other people's lives. "You don't owe me an apology," I said softly. "You owe yourself one." She blinked, eyes glistening. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "I know," I said, "but you did." I turned to leave, and as I walked away, I heard her whisper, "You were the only real friend I had." That's when it hit me, the difference between us. I shared my pain to heal, she shared it to belong. Now, when people ask how I got through my divorce, I don't tell them about lawyers or therapy or moving on. I tell them the truth, that healing didn't start when my husband left. It started when I stopped trusting the wrong people with my story. Because sometimes the most dangerous betrayal doesn't come from the person who breaks your heart. It comes from the one who holds it while smiling, pretending they're keeping it safe. And when you finally see that clearly, revenge doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be true. You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.